Hi guys, welcome back to Susie Says. This video is actually very impromptu. I know I say it every time because I was not planning on making this video today. So if it looks a little janky and a little rushed, it's because I was going about my day, living my normal life. I went to my doctor, got my tetanus shot, and I realized that the We Need to Talk podcast dropped today. Guess what today is, guys? Today is the 11th anniversary of Dee Dee's death. And I don't know if Gypsy has something to do with that, but the fact that they chose to drop this interview on this day, they want more. They want us to literally point out the lies in Gypsy Rose's story. First of all, it's really tone deaf. She's already made Dee Dee's birthday her anniversary to celebrate her relationship with Ken, the man she cheated on Ryan Anderson with. And now she's going to make her death day today to drop this? No. If I was Gypsy, I would have been like, no, let's just leave this day to observe my mother. Let's leave this day to just give her day. You've already caused enough damage, and now you want to metaphorically add another knife to her back because you're going to release more lies. I don't follow the We Need to Talk podcast at all. I don't know nothing about this channel. It seems like a pretty legit channel with a pretty good following. So the fact that they would choose to platform someone like Gypsy Rose is beyond me. People need to stop platforming her. This girl unalived her mom, and now she's being treated as a celebrity, as an influencer on the internet. Who should she be influencing? Nobody. She needs to sit in silence and live her life quietly for the sake of her own child. Because the more she does this, the more wide known she wants to know, the harder it's going to be for Gypsy Rose's little daughter. That little girl did not ask for this, Gypsy. You birthed her into this world, and you're going to have to deal with the consequences when she asks you, why are all my friends saying you did X, Y, and Z? This is going to be quite a loaded video. I hope it don't come out to be too long, but I see other people on TikTok doing their reactions, and they are hitting the point every single time. So far, I've watched Audrey and I've watched Ashley Baby. They are amazing. They're killing it. Please go check out their TikToks because they were doing reviews, and I'm like, oh my God, yes, I need to chime in. There are a few things I need to say too. I don't have quite as big a platform as them, and I hope to have one day. So with that being said, please like, subscribe, share. If you've clicked on this video, it means you're part of the anti-Gypsy verse too, and you want to know the truth, or you're just curious, because I know they don't put the truth out there. And if you've seen this interview and you want to actually know what Gypsy has said in her own words, literally less than 3 years ago about this same situation, you'll see how she's trying to manipulate the story, and she constantly does this, and I'm here to point it out. So get comfortable, let's get started. So here's how I'm going to do this. It is a rather long interview. So I'm going to play a clip of the interview and then give my take on it. Instead of just playing the whole thing out, I don't want to get copyright struck. I'm also going to have to try and find a way to not get copyright struck when I'm playing the clip. I may just show a still and then you'll hear the audio. I think that may work best for me right now because, again, I don't want to get any copyright violations. So I'm going to start with the first clip early on in the interview. It starts off with her talking about her mom and dad early life and how they got together and how they broke up and how she has a half sister. Her dad was like really getting around, and he just realized he didn't love Dee Dee. He didn't love her at all. So they ended up breaking up. And that's just the early part. I have a question though. I wonder how many questions she told him she was not willing to answer. I wonder if there was any restrictions on this interview, because everybody seems to handle her with like these little soft gloves, and they don't want to, she's so fragile. They don't want to actually dig in and get the true answer. They don't want to ask her the hard questions. And it's a repeat cycle every single time. So here's the first clip I want to talk about.
And then from there, my mom and I started moving around.
Interesting. And was that because you could no longer live in the house?
Correct. From what I understand, my uncle addressed all the things that my mom was doing at that point. He was like, why isn't Gypsy in school? You need to put her in school. I really just don't think she's as sick as what you claim. She's perfectly fine. She plays with my kids. And he just put her on blast.
In this clip, she talks about how in the early years, her and Dee Dee moved around a lot after Dee Dee's mom died. And she said one of her uncles confronted Dee Dee about her not being in school and her not being as sick as she claimed she was. Now, I'm not a mom, and her uncle is not her mom. Her uncle is not at her doctor's visits. To say you don't feel somebody's child is sick, as they say they are, you better come with some proof. You better come with some proof, because sometimes children do not present as sick. In Gypsy's early years, she did need some surgery, some corrective surgeries. One was her eyes. She had microcephaly. That's small head. She was very small. It's very obvious there was something off about this child. Not that it was anything wrong. Being sick doesn't mean wrong, but it does mean there may be some health concerns. Now, I've told you guys about this story before of Iris, and this little girl literally has all the same symptoms as Gypsy when she was little, even down to the feeding tube. Iris diagnosed a 1q21.1 microdeletion steroid, and this is from January 2017. Iris is now 3 years old. She was born at 37 weeks and weighed under 5 pounds. From the beginning, she had trouble with feeding and gaining weight. Doctors did not seem to believe us when we said she threw up all the time despite medicine and diet changes. They treated us like we were looking for attention whenever we brought Iris to the doctor's office. It wasn't until she was at her 9-month well baby visit that we finally saw the main doctor at the practice, a man with a very good reputation. He took one look at my baby and declared that she needed to see a list of specialists immediately: neurology, gastroenterology, otolaryngology, kidney specialists, feeding therapists, developmental pediatricians, eye and hearing exams, MRI, and genetics. He said he wasn't sure what was going on with her, but it was over his head and he wished he had seen her sooner. Iris attended all those appointments and more in the next year. She was diagnosed with microcephaly, severe GERD. She's on a feeding tube now and growing like a weed, developmental delays, vision issues, coordination and gait issues, a minor kidney problem, and a lot of very mild things as well. Genetics finally got a hold of her, and she was diagnosed with 1q21.1 microdeletion. All her conditions are considered to be caused by the deletion. Unfortunately, there's really not much information for parents, patients, caregivers, or doctors about this condition. There was no microdeletion diagnosis at this point. Doctors were guessing. They knew something was off, but they didn't know what it was. If Gypsy had to go to the hospital quite often, it is probably because they're seeing problems, they're seeing symptoms, and they're not sure what they are, but they need to closely monitor this child. For him to say, oh, she doesn't appear to be as sick as you claim she is, like, that's loaded. Are you at the doctor's appointments with me? No. Are you taking care of her? No. And Gypsy was in school. She said it herself. She's had an education up to 2nd grade. Sometimes she's in 3rd grade.
And now I feel like, oh, I went from 19 to 32. Geez, God, I got old so quick. How did that happen?
You never went to school either.
That's true. You didn't go to school, so there wasn't, this lineage of school
Mhm.
pictures to
Right,
follow.
right,
I
exactly.
think that I still can't wrap my head around that you only went to school up till 2nd grade
Mhm.
and that you are so intelligent and articulate
Mhm.
and that you can write and read at the level that you do is.
She was in school. I know there was also a documentary where she said she was pulled out of school because Dee Dee was afraid they wouldn't give her the medications on time. And I don't know whether or not to believe that, but Gypsy was in school up to 2nd grade, at least up to 2nd grade.
And it's previously was known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Correct.
So from what I understand, this is what your mother suffered from. And I've seen reports that have said that she has one of the most, historically, one of the most notorious sufferers of this disease.
Correct.
And she took this out on you.
Correct.
Okay. So the family doesn't know what's happening. They just say that she's weird.
Correct.
But as you mentioned, there's other things happening in the house.
So he says Dee Dee has one of the most notorious known cases of Munchausen by proxy. The family at the time had no idea what was going on with Dee Dee. They just knew she was a little strange. Let's apply this same theory to Gypsy, who had a microdeletion that was undiagnosed. So yeah, Dee Dee may have looked strange because she's seeing symptoms in her child that she does not know what it is. Doctors don't know what it is, but they know there's something wrong. You see how they can say one thing about Dee Dee without a diagnosis, but they can't say the same thing about little baby Gypsy without a diagnosis of the microdeletion. It's not fair to say Dee Dee had Munchausen by proxy when they couldn't even diagnose Gypsy. You know, it's crazy. This diagnosis didn't come till later on in life. Gypsy was practically an adult, if not an adult. Dee Dee had the most notorious case of Munchausen by proxy, and Gypsy probably has one of the most notorious cases of this microdeletion. And she does not suffer from really bad symptoms now because Dee Dee got them fixed. Are we understanding? Let's continue.
There was a therapist that would come to the house, a counselor. And then when we moved from Louisiana to Missouri, she stopped seeing the therapist and she stopped being on medication. I remember, growing up with a mom that said, do you hear that? I hear voices telling me that there's 7 voices and 6 of them doesn't like me? Do I see that? Like, seeing things that aren't there, and I didn't see these things, so, it would kind of break my mom's heart when I would be like, "No, I don't see anything."
So she's saying her mom had a bipolar disorder and she had 7 personalities and 6 of them didn't like Gypsy. Do you guys remember the FOIA documents when Gypsy was making these videos to Nick? And she said she tried to explain to her mom about these personalities, and her mom don't believe in this stuff. Her mom don't believe you can have multiple personalities. She said this herself.
I apologize for taking the naked pictures whenever I was like 15, because Demona did actually, but she doesn't believe in Demona. She just says, it's me, it's me. She doesn't even believe in a 2-personality kind of disorder or whatever it is.
So what are we to believe? Let's continue.
And even on that point too, where you mentioned your mother, in essence, was isolating you, right, from your father. I've noticed that this is a standard maneuver of abusers, is the social isolation of of the person that they're targeting.
Yeah.
And
Another lie. We can clearly see from the FOIA documents, Dee Dee tried plenty of times to get Rod to pick up Gypsy. First of all, they were in communication. Rod forgot Gypsy's birthday one time. He was always out with his other family. Yeah, they had moved away, but he didn't make an effort to even go to her doctor's appointment. Not one. Not one. So if Dee Dee did feel some kind of way about Rod, I believe it's pretty valid. It's absolutely valid. There were messages from when Rod was going on vacation, and Dee Dee was trying to get him to take Gypsy. Rod said, oh, he don't know if he can do that, with her condition and all. So it's not like she was trying to keep Gypsy in a bubble. Rod was exactly who Dee Dee said he was. He paid no attention to Gypsy's life. He wanted to get as far away as he can get from Gypsy and Dee Dee because he didn't want to deal with that responsibility. I don't think he did love Dee Dee. And Gypsy, unfortunately, fell under that umbrella of Dee Dee. I think it's easy to say, oh, he loved Gypsy now just to save face. But when she was younger, I can't guarantee you I wouldn't have felt the same way that Dee Dee felt.
Upstairs, there's a bathroom on the 2nd floor, and it had a tub. And I remember my mom taking a bath and my grandfather, like, washing her. And then she gets out of the tub and then proceeds to put me in the tub with him. And, I have this memory. Other family members have called me a liar. They do not believe this at all because they're like, the tub was so small. How could 2 people fit in there? I was little. I was very little. And, obviously having my grandfather expose himself like that, I was so little. I didn't think anything of it because I didn't know anything about sex or anything like that. But he found enjoyment in exposing himself to me.
Here's what I have to say about this. Abuse like this is never condoned. However, I have to question this as well. In Gypsy's book, she talked about how her mom, when she was a little girl, would not let her play with Barbie dolls because Barbie dolls had too much anatomy. She could see that the Ken doll had bumps and grooves and Barbie doll had a body. And her mom wanted to keep that away from her. But you are going to put her in a bathtub with a fully grown naked man. This theory never sits right with me. I don't understand. Now, if he was giving Gypsy a bath and she felt weird about it, maybe she felt it was uncomfortable. I can't say. I don't know how she felt as a child. But do I think there was some abuse going on? I absolutely do not. Absolutely do not. And that's just my opinion. These are all my opinions. I don't feel this happened. Because the story she tells just doesn't correlate. Her mom was so worried about her seeing body parts. But yet, like, oh, here's a naked man. Get in the tub with him so he can wash you. And you're going to be naked too. No. No, just my opinion. No.
Left the house very super uncomfortable. And so my mom just thought it would be best for us to leave. We stayed at the Ronald McDonald House in New Orleans for a few months, actually.
Okay. And for everyone who is not familiar with the Ronald McDonald House, could you explain it?
So the Ronald McDonald House is essentially a lodging home for children and their families while the children are going through their doctor's appointments. It's a place for them to stay near the hospital. And it's at a short fee. So I think it was like $5 a night for us, I believe. So, you know, it's crazy to say that the Ronald McDonald House was kind of like, okay, that was my next home, because we stayed there so much.
Now, I don't know much about the Ronald McDonald House. I was listening to, I believe, Ashley Baby on her live, and she was saying this is not possible. You cannot pay a small fee to stay at the Ronald McDonald House. You actually have to be sick. There's no such thing as paying a fee. And if she's wrong, I don't know. I have no experience with this. But that doesn't sound right either. Imagine charging somebody to be sick and be close to that. No, it just doesn't make any sense to me. If anybody has any experience with the Ronald McDonald House, please confirm whether or not this is true, that she paid a fee to stay there. And if there is a fee, why would there be a fee? Why? I don't have anything to say about this. I just heard that this is a little strange and this is not usual. In the comments, let me know what is your experience if you know anything about it.
At around the age of, 8 or so, went into the hospital for, actually, you know what? I can't even remember what it was for, but I did a long time in the hospital. It was like a 6-month stint in the hospital.
Okay.
And that's when they put the feeding tube in.
And you can't recall how you got to the hospital?
My mom drove us, but I don't remember what the initial appointment was for.
Okay. But you ended up then going in for 6 months, which, I mean, that's significant.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And you were given a feeding tube, and then you were placed in a wheelchair.
So she just brushes over what she was going to the hospital for. Oh, I can't remember. It just escaped her in that moment. But she stayed there for 6 months. 6 months. And a feeding tube was eventually placed. Now, I've been looking through medical records. I'm not as good in detail as some people are. But from what I've heard and what I understand, she was having some kind of feeding issue where she wasn't gaining weight. And the permanent feeding tube was an absolute last resort. They did not want to do this, but Gypsy was not gaining weight. It was failure to thrive, I believe is what it's called as well. She wasn't gaining weight. To be in a hospital for 6 months, 6 months is wild. And to say that there's nothing wrong with you. So for 6 months, doctors, for half a year, doctors monitored you and nurses took care of you. And they was like, yeah, you know what? Let's just put a feeding tube in just for the hell of it. She don't need it. She absolutely needed it. I want one person to stand up and say, I spent 6 months in the hospital and there was nothing wrong with me. You sound like a crazy person saying that. You absolutely do. And she's a child. She don't know what's going on. You don't remember your childhood as vividly as an adult who's watching you and taking care of you with. So if she spent 6 months in the hospital and the final decision was, let's give her a permanent feeding tube, I'm inclined to believe that the doctors, for 6 months of monitoring, knew what they were doing. And the feeding tube was needed. A permanent feeding tube was needed.
So the initial story that my mom told to family was I went into the hospital. Then upon having surgery, I had a seizure on the operating room table that left me paralyzed. That was the first story.
Okay.
Okay. So, of course, growing up, that's what I thought. I knew that I could walk. I just want to make that clear. I knew that I could walk. So then she goes on to tell other people, well, she was paralyzed, and doctors, mind you, tell doctors that I was paralyzed since birth.
Oh, wow.
Now, before we get carried away, this is what she told Nicholas Godejohn.
When I was 6 years old, I went into the hospital for like 6 months, and the doctors told me that I had a seizure in surgery, and I wouldn't be able to walk, that I was paralyzed permanently. And that part, like the part that I had a seizure, was true. In surgery, I had the seizure and I was paralyzed. But what they didn't know is that it was temporary paralysis and not permanent. And by the time I started to get my feeling back in my legs, and I hadn't tried to walk then, but I was too young and I just kept to myself. And throughout the years, I tried to tell my mom a few times, and I guess I was just afraid of her not loving me as much as she does if I couldn't walk. Mom's kind of in denial in a way. I don't really know, because I guess it would be too hard to explain to all our friends and everything. And one thing I never want to go is like a liar. And believe me, I would like for people to know the truth, but being as it is, I would lose a lot of friends, I think.
I will forever play that clip because she goes, I knew I could walk. But did your mom know? She makes it seem as though her mom knew when she's right here in a private video, unprovoked, says that no, she didn't want to tell her mom. She's been keeping it from everybody because she didn't want to lose her mother's love. Like, did they even watch the 4 years before they did this interview? Because I would have asked her, why did she say that? If it wasn't true, why would you tell Nick? He's an unbiased third party. She has no reason to lie to him about how she became into this situation. But she decided to say she kept this from her mother. So yeah, maybe her mom is going around telling people Gypsy can't walk, she had a seizure and she can't walk. Because Gypsy's keeping it that way. Because Gypsy is sitting in a chair and Gypsy is making it seem as though she cannot walk. Now, whether or not she told doctors that Gypsy was paralyzed since birth, I feel like doctors ask for medical records. I work at a clinic. They ask for medical records. If she did say that, she may have been trying to get sympathy or get something from the doctor that she may need. But I find it hard to believe. Gypsy had a normal muscle tone. Let's think about this. I'm not a doctor, but if I see somebody with normal muscle tone in their leg and the mom is saying, oh, she couldn't walk since birth, it doesn't make any sense, Gypsy. This doesn't make any sense that your mom said this. And now, if I can find it in the medical record where mom states Gypsy was paralyzed since birth, if it's written down, I'll believe it. I'll believe it. But still, I'm sure there's a reason why she said that. Because Gypsy was the one who led her mother to believe that she couldn't walk. That temporary paralysis wore off and Gypsy was like, I can walk, but I'm not telling my mom. I like the attention. That's just my take on that.
There was a doctor, his name was Dr. Flashenstein, or Flasherstein, however you want to kind of say it. And he examined me. He was a neurologist. Pretty sure he's retired now, but he asked me to stand up in his doctor's office. Now, I learned this on the documentary about myself. I'm learning things about my own life in a documentary.
Look at that.
And the rough part for me is, I have a therapist. And for a long time after watching the documentary, I'm like, he's lying. I don't remember that. I never remember him asking me to stand. And then a few months ago, I was laying in bed and I feel like I have two memories. And I don't know which one's real, but I think I maybe do recall him asking me to stand up. And I don't know if it was blocking that memory, but now I'm kind of like, oh my God, maybe he did.
Yes.
How convenient. How convenient. So just a few months ago, you just decided to remember, oh yeah, I did stand for Dr. Flasherstein. I did. I mean, it just escaped you. And she told someone else this. I believe it was on a live. I heard her mention this. If I can find the clip, I'll post it. But she has said this before. And now it was just 3 months ago. Right. You remember when it's convenient. Now that Dee Dee is already cremated and you're out of prison, now you can suddenly remember, oh yeah, I did stand. Wrong timing.
Family Protective Services, which they did come to my house. They separate me and my mom, her in the living room, me in my bedroom. They were asking me, is there bruises on your body?
Okay.
Can I look at your arms? Can I look at your legs? So I showed them my arms. I showed them my legs. And I was terrified of being taken away from my mom. Because at that time, yes, a lot of abuse was going on, but I also loved my mom very much. And they were asking me questions that didn't pertain to Munchausen by proxy.
Okay.
there wasn't physical hitting, there wasn't punching, there wasn't physical abuse.
Yes.
So I didn't think to say I could walk because they were asking the wrong questions. You know, in situations like this, Munchausen by proxy should have been looked at. If you see a child supposedly with all these medical issues, you have a doctor that writes in his notes, you know, suspicion of Munchausen by proxy, why aren't you asking those questions? The right questions, instead of asking me if I have bruises, you know?
If they had asked the right questions, how do you suspect
I
your life
probably would have
changed?
been so innocent and probably just told them the truth. Like, yes, I could walk. Not knowing, because I didn't know what Munchausen by proxy was.
So when the Child Protective Services came to our house, Gypsy conveniently leaves out that she is an adult at this time. She's 18 years old. She's an adult. And it's also notated in the report that they made that Gypsy is an adult and she appeared to be mentally delayed. Now, if they showed up surprisingly, just randomly on a random day, and Gypsy knew to put this act on. She knew to put this act on. They didn't give Dee Dee time to like, oh, we'll come by later. Make sure you drug Gypsy up and make her look all out of it so we can say, oh yeah, she's not well. No. Gypsy, you pretended you were a mentally handicapped child. You did that. You were 18. And that is why Child Services left it alone. You were an adult. You were well cared for. You wanted to be where you were. If there was abuse at that time and you felt like, oh, I want to stand up. Oh, I want to, like, you could have stood. She always say that they didn't ask the right questions. They didn't ask questions that pertained to her, you know, being abused, because there was no abuse at that time. They was asking, do you have marks? Gypsy, if you were in a situation you need to get out of, I would tell the pizza man. The pizza man knock on the door. I'm like, hey, listen, my mom's abusing me. Get me out of here. No. You stayed in your chair and you pretended you were mentally unwell. You pretended. If I can ask Gypsy one question is, what would have been the right questions? What would have been the right questions? They came because of the suspicion of Dr. Flasterstein, saying that there's a chance this is Munchausen by proxy because he knows you can walk. You stood. And you don't want to believe you did that, but you did. You did stand. And he literally knew you could walk. And that was why they were there. And you plopped yourself in a wheelchair and you pretended you were not mentally well and you lied.
So they put a permanent feeding tube, and I had that all the way up until the crime happened.
So all the way through your teens.
All the way through my teen years. Yep.
So does that mean that you then never...
It's not that I didn't eat by mouth, but ate very little by mouth.
Okay.
So I would like mashed potatoes. I was allowed to eat that, but I was mostly fed through the feeding tube.
She likes to say she just don't know why her mom would say she had any feeding issues. She's a child when this happened. She's a child. And Gypsy also has something called a high palate. And with a quick Google search, you'll know that having a high palate can cause difficulty chewing, swallowing, and managing food. It increases the risk of gagging and choking. So Gypsy wants to say, oh, I don't know why. You don't know what Dee Dee saw. You don't know. And then you also was in a hospital for 6 months. So they must have seen something too.
At home, when you're not in the hospital, you would then just remain in your wheelchair.
Mm-hmm. And our day-to-day lives was me in the wheelchair. I didn't get up and walk around unless she was not in the house.
Oh, wow.
So if she left the house to, say, go to the grocery store for a second, I would get up and walk around. I would test the limits.
Yes.
Leg strength wasn't great. Obviously, because I hadn't been walking like normal. But just to kind of feel like, hey, I'm walking.
I like how she says if her mom went to go to the grocery store for just a little second. It was a little tiny trip to the grocery store. Gypsy would get up out of her wheelchair and just like tiptoe around the house just to test the water to see how she was walking. This girl was making long videos. And you can tell from the foyers. She was out here dancing, making long videos, completely nude in the living room. If my mom, was she not even afraid that her mom would come home early? Her mom just went to the grocery store for a second. Now she's going to show you her Titan hose. Yeah. Yeah, completely naked in the living room making videos. And these are not quick 5-10 minute videos. These are long. I get exhausted watching these videos. There is hundreds of videos like this between her and Nick. So she makes it seem as though she just had no time alone. Her mom would just briefly go over into the store and come right back, and she would just, walk for a few minutes just to try it out. Okay.
Did you ever think or bring up the fact that you could walk to
I
your
did.
mother?
I
You
did many times, and
Okay.
it always resulted in an argument. And it always resulted in some form of it bringing all of it back to her. Like, you don't love me. You, I'm supposed to be the one you trust. I'm supposed to be the one you love. But if you feel like you can go and do better with your dad, then go. Like, it was always like this level of manipulation. Like, anytime that I would bring up, I'm not as sick as you're saying, it was always an argument.
No, Gypsy. You said when you try to bring it up to your mom, your mom is in denial because now how's she gonna explain to her friends that you guys have been lying the whole time? Mostly you, because she believed you, Gypsy, and now you done put your mom in this bubble to say, "Oh, my child pretended they couldn't walk, but she can actually walk. Everything's fine." I wouldn't believe her either. I didn't believe it until I heard it out of your own mouth. So, yeah, she may resort back to herself. Like, Gypsy, how do you think this is going to make me look? Do you want me to get in trouble? I would say the same thing. And I'm sure a normal response would be, "Oh my goodness, I'm happy my child can walk." I think that would be a normal response. But you have already caused her to dig a hole so deep, telling people you couldn't walk. You have the microdeletion. And a lot of your sicknesses are because of the microdeletion. But the walking, the wheelchair, if they find out that's a lie, no one's going to believe the microdeletion anymore. Like, you actually did have a microdeletion. You actually had something wrong with you. What you could do was walk. And that was the one thing you lied to your mom about. And she continued your lie up until you was ready to tell her. And to say she was like, oh, she would make it all about herself. Yeah. Yeah, Gypsy. She was the one who got you all the stuff you have by saying, oh, Gypsy can't walk or Gypsy has trouble walking. Child Protective Services came to the house and you didn't get up out that chair. So bringing it up to her, it's like, no, you guys are both. And again, Dee Dee, if she found out Gypsy can walk and just wanted to continue with the lie, it was wrong. It was wrong. But I can kind of understand her plight here. How do you go and tell everybody, Gypsy was just pretending she can walk? She wants to completely disregard the fact that this video was made and that I can't believe it wasn't even brought up in this interview. I would have asked her, why would you say this? Why would you say this? She also said that she would bring up to her mom that, oh, I know I'm not as sick as you're saying I am. But yet, during the trial, when she was told she don't have cancer, she said that was the first time she even knew, I don't have cancer?
I believed I had all these illnesses, except that I knew I could walk, and I knew that I could eat. It wasn't until I saw my attorney for the first time, and he tells me that there's been no medical records that says I have cancer, and it shocked me. I don't have cancer?
I don't? Oh my goodness, I don't have that, which I have my opinions about that too, but it's like, which is it, Gypsy? Which is it? Because you say one thing and then you completely change your story again. I think you were in denial. I don't know if this is before her microdeletion discovery or not, but you were sick, Gypsy. You were sick.
Takes us to this convention, and we meet lots of nice people. We have a great time. I dressed up like a princess. Like,
Okay.
it was fun. I started adding all these people that went to the convention on my Facebook.
Ah,
Okay.
okay. Okay.
And they would say, like, oh, it was so nice to see you at the convention. So at least there was some level of like interaction, like, oh, you were at the convention, so was I. And there was a guy that was at the convention. He sent me a Facebook request. His name was Dan, and he was much older than I was. So I was real age 18,
Okay.
19. But my mom was trying to pass me off as 15. Okay, so he thought that I was 15.
Okay.
He was 36 at the time.
Okay.
And started talking on Facebook, and just on Facebook. I thought he was cute. And he was kind of digging me too.
Okay. Is this your first kind of interaction, pseudo-romantic?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we flirted for a while, and then I start telling him more about my life.
When it comes down to Dan and VisionCon, here's what I have to say about this. Gypsy had enough freedom where she had access to the internet to make a secret account on Facebook. And she said herself, she was adding people from VisionCon, and they would say, oh, so good to see you, so good to see you. Gypsy saw Dan. She liked Dan. She added Dan, let's just be honest. Because if Gypsy has a secret Facebook account, just one chance meeting from this one guy she meets at a VisionCon, he's not going to be able to search her up with her fake name. You know, she was known as Gypsy Rose. And I know she had like a bunch of fake accounts with different names, but he just found this random account. He just knew right away, I'm going to find this girl. I'm going to talk to her because I'm a predator. Now, he is a predator. If she looked and behaved as a 15-year-old and he was 30-something and he didn't know her actual age and still approached her that way, yeah, absolutely. Gypsy wants it to seem as though Dan looks for her. She looked for him. She was longing for a man. And Dan was in her sights. And she was like, you know what? I'm going to tell him I'm actually 19 and we're going to run away together. Yeah. So I don't believe for a second Dan added her. She added him. Just my opinion.
Then I start telling him more about my life. And my mom had caught us talking on the phone, and she threatened him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I was going through my mom's purse, and I found my my health insurance card, and it said my birthday was 1991. And so I'm like, that would make me like 18, 19, not 15. So I tell this to him, and I'm like, well, that would make me legal. Like, I can go live with you. Like, you know, like all this sort of like ideas.
Yes.
And he's like, well, if you're legal, then you could just get up and leave. Like, you could leave. And I'm like, I don't have a car. I don't have a way to leave. And so he's like, I'll take you as far as Arkansas. Like, we can live together on a ranch in Arkansas.
I like how she just suddenly finds her medical card and knows she's 19 or 20 years old. When we know when child services came to the house, they stated she was 18. She knew her age the whole time. Gypsy never once forgot her age. Now, yeah, I do believe she and her mom definitely were in on some kind of scam at some point where they would get benefits for Gypsy being sick. And of course, I feel like they did malinger and make the sicknesses seem a bit more severe than what they actually were. But they did it for financial gain. That is also a crime, but it is not abuse, Gypsy. It is not abuse to you. I always find it so convenient that after her mom goes, no, not Dan, she suddenly, oh, look, my insurance card. I'm an adult. Let me run away. Gypsy, you only found the evidence because your mom didn't want you to do something you wanted to do. When the easier thing would have been to just getting up and walking away and telling your mom, I know I'm 18 and I want to go live with him. There was something in it for you. And I want to say it was your mother's love because I can understand not wanting to lose your mother's love. But it was something more. It's something more.
So 2 weeks go by, I get a text from him that he's in the hospital, that he wants me to join him in the hospital. He wants someone to be there with him. He got beat up. So I pack a bag, and in the middle of the night, I get out of my mom's bed, pack a bag, go out the front door, hitchhike, meet him at the hospital, and he didn't have a home. He was couch surfing at his friends. And so we go to his friends. They realize that I'm there, and they recognize me from the convention. And they realize this girl is 15 years old. So they got in contact with a mutual friend of my mom's. Told my mom where I was. 4 hours later, my mom comes to pick me up.
Oh, my goodness.
This is loaded right here. Let's just listen to this. This is the story of how she ran away to be with Dan. Now, Remember where she says she packed a little bag and she accidentally left her phone and her mom felt the phone and all the messages and her mom tracked her down?
That night, my mother had awoken probably about 4 o'clock in the morning, noticed that I wasn't there. She then goes to look around the house, and my cell phone fell out of my backpack. So she sees the messages between me and Dan, and she instantly knows who I'm with. Then she begins to call their mutual friends from the convention, and one of them told my mother where I was. And there she was able to come and find me.
Yeah, because now she's saying Dan's friends was like, this girl's 15. Let me call her mom. Now, these are his friends from the VisionCon convention. The friends that know her as Gypsy Rose Wheelchair Girl. Why was nobody more dumbfounded that she can walk? Because that would have, like, really shocked me before I even knew her actual age. Like, why is she walking in? She also leaves out that she had a binder full of her information proving she was 19. For whatever reason, his friends didn't feel comfortable with this 19-year-old girl, with this 36-year-old man, which is valid. I wouldn't feel comfortable either. And they caught Dee Dee. Dee Dee probably didn't even care. Dee Dee is probably like, oh, well, she's gone. But now she has to come and pick up this girl because Dan's friends don't want her there. You know, it didn't seem like Dee Dee was like urgent to get her back. I think it took 3 or 4 hours for Dee Dee to even get there. I don't know how far she was from where she lived, but if Dee Dee was in a hurry, I'm sure it would have taken much, much sooner than that. And let's also not forget that she took money and medication from Dee Dee. What did that have to do with anything? If she wanted to go be with Dan, she could have left. But she took money and medication. And that was the first 2 things she says her mom asked for back when she got to Dan's house.
The first thing I say to her is, I know I'm 19 and I can be here if I want to. And she's like, where are my pills? I stole her pain medication. So I give her her pills back. She's like, where's the money? I give her the money back that I stole out of her wallet. It was about $1,000.
So I just don't understand. I don't understand. You got away. You could get away. You would have. Why not leave all of that behind? You want to take your mom's stuff with you as well. That's probably why she needed to find you. She probably needed her money and her medication. She probably didn't even care that you was with Dan. But she had to go and get you because you would have been out on the street. And that would have made her look bad with her sick daughter out on the street.
So I get in the car. I'm like, okay. And I mean, at this time, I'm like all courage. And I'm like, I know I'm 19 and I know that I could see him.
Yes.
And she's like, if you come back with me, I will let you see him. So I go back with my mom. And that's when I got chained, tied. To me, all these, words restrained to the bed happened for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
you were
Tied
tied
up.
to the bed.
Mm-hmm. So what my mom did was she took a dog leash and clipped it and tied it to a pair of like handcuffs and then put it around the bed. And then whenever like I would need to go to the bathroom, she would undo it. And then like she had a way, like, because we were in the same bed, so she could tell if I would move or whatever, she'd wake up. And it was like that for 2 weeks. She put bells on the doors and then eventually put a padlock on the door. Blacked out all the windows with tint, like window tint. That's when she started hitting me, though.
Okay.
That's when the hitting started.
So she just rehashing stories she's already told. The tying to the bed. That was so traumatizing. That a year later, she was making the video to Nick about how much she liked to be tied up.
To be honest, it's kind of a fantasy of mine for you to chain me up to the bed and bite me. And you can bite me anywhere you want to. I'm not okay with. If it's spanking, that's fine. If it's me being tied up, that's fine. I don't mind that.
Yeah, traumatizing. Yeah, very traumatizing. And also, she says her mom blacked out the windows after that. When, in her book, she states that her mom blacked out the windows after child services came. And then her mom blacked out the windows because she was depressed. Like, why did your mom black out the windows, Gypsy? It's so many different stories all the time. Why pack a bag? You wanted to take her money and medication. That's why. There was no urgency in getting out of the house. You wanted to live there until you had a place to go. And you choosing to run away, you're packing the bag because you're like, okay, what can I collect from this abusive, traumatizing house that I can take with me so I can run away? Just run away. You said she was at the market for a few minutes where you would make hour-long videos. Just run away. Why are you packing the bag? This is the kind of abuse I don't understand. I don't understand.
So that trust was built up enough to be let off the chain. Well, then it's like soon after, I attempt to run away again.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But this time, like, she found, and looking back on it, I'm like, why pack a damn bag? Just get out of the freaking house. Because I kept packing bags. Like, let me pack a bag.
Right.
She found my bag. And so she knew I was going to run away again. And I owned up to it too. I was like, just let me leave and you'll never see me again. Just forget about me. Just let me go. And she's like, I won't and I can't and you're not leaving. And that's when I proceeded to take a BB gun, and I knew full and well it was a BB gun. It was not going to kill her. I took a BB gun and she came toward me and I freaked out and I released the BB gun. One hit her in the clavicle, one hit in the leg. They were superficial wounds. They broke the skin, but ultimately a Band-Aid covered it up. And then after that happened, like, we both had this moment of like, sit on the bed, holy shit moment. And I was never the type to be violent, ever. I never yelled at my mom. I never hit my mom. It was at that moment that I realized that something in me snapped.
This BB gun story, she likes to tell it like, oh, now she knows it was a BB gun. When before she said she was surprised that she could even do it, and she was so relieved that it wasn't an actual gun.
When I shot my mother, I just remember thinking like, oh my God, did I just do that? What did I just do? A couple of them hit her, a couple of them hit the wall, but the wounds were superficial. They barely grazed her. That's when I realized it was a BB gun. And it made me feel relieved because I did not intend to kill her. But the point is I was shocked that I pulled the trigger at all.
And it was just superficial wounds, a little bruise. She was in the emergency room. It wasn't a little superficial wound. Dee Dee was in the emergency room. You can see right from here in these photos, she has Band-Aids covering her. Like, she tried to take Dee Dee out. She thought it was a real gun. She's really trying to save face because she also had a dagger. She had a dagger. She was double-fisted with weaponry, as she said in her book. And she chased her mom to the bathroom, and her mom is seated on the toilet, and she's like asking her mom these questions. Why can't I listen to the Backstreet Boys? Why can't I do this? This is what she said in the book. And now she just makes it like, oh, the little cute little incident where I pew-pewed her, just a little scar. She was in the emergency room. And then she says they had this moment where, she came to the realization she could be violent. And in the book, she says Dee Dee now saw her as an equal.
And so is it at this point where you then join the Christian dating site?
I did.
Okay.
About a year later.
Okay.
About a year later, I had joined the Christian website.
And just as she said there too, there's a whole year that is missing. In her book, the next chapter goes, I met Nick, blah, 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 blah. And there's something she's leaving out. She does this in every interview. She says this incident happened, and then I met Nick. Something happened in that space. And I always say, like, I called it chapter 9.5 for her book. Her and her mom agreed Gypsy could date or she could talk to some people. Dee Dee and Gypsy came to some kind of agreement. Dee Dee loosened up her grip. She understood Gypsy really wanted to date. And I'm sure Gypsy bargained with her like, hey, listen. I'll go along with this scam a little while longer, even though I caused it really, because I was the one who said I couldn't walk. I want out of it, but let me talk to somebody online. Let me have friends online. Let me like date. And she even said herself to Nick, her mom said she's not mentally capable of dating right now. She's not ready for the psychological games men play. And let's just be honest. We all saw that blanket video.
This is how I feel about you. Lies! All it is lies! Lies, lies, lies! Ugh! Fucking soulmates, the hell you are! The hell you are! Lies! All of it!
She does not appear to still be ready. But Dee Dee said at around 21 or whenever she was mentally ready, she could date.
The first thing that I noticed of Nick's profile is he likes to play video games. So I had a secret Facebook. I had, a secret Skype account.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have a conversation with him that I want to meet him. We want to meet each other in real life. So we think of this event, like where possibly could I be and you be? And I wanted to see the new Cinderella remake, the live action remake.
Okay.
That came out in 2015. So we decide, okay, that's where we're going to meet up. So my mom and I are going to go see the movie, and you're going to be there too to see the movie, but we're not together. We're going to meet like we never met.
I see it.
Okay. So we're standing in line, comes the day, we're standing in line getting popcorn and stuff like that. And he's there alone. But I didn't realize the optics of how that would look. Like, here's this guy that's alone, doesn't have kids, doesn't have a girlfriend, doesn't have a wife, nothing like that. Just going to see a little girl movie. I did not see how that would be weird.
Until you got there.
Until years later, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that was kind of creepy. Like, what were we thinking?
Now she's going over the story of how she and Nick met at the movie theater. Now, what she leaves out is that she and Nick had already discussed the possibility of killing her mom at this point. Like, they had called it Plan B. She plotted Dee Dee's death for about 2 years. I think this was Plan A. Plan B was first he was going to kill her. I don't know why. Plan B was, and then they was like, okay, wait a minute. Let's try and meet up first. And the way how she tells the story, I noticed another creator pointed this out. She always laughs. She always laughs about this part where why would this grown man be at the movie theater without a wife, without children, without a girlfriend, watching this movie? Why does she find this to be so funny?
She was like, he's creepy, he's weird, he's coming to see a kid's movie alone by himself. And now looking back on it, yeah, it is weird. We were the only people at the movies, and he didn't have a kid with him or a girlfriend or nothing. He's just this guy going to see this chick movie. Picked a movie, and it was Cinderella, the new version.
Why is this guy that's obviously an adult at a little girl's children's movie by himself? No kids, no girlfriend, no family.
This is the day she met the man that would help her unalive her mom. Like, she tells this story every single documentary with a smile. And she thinks, oh, it's just so funny because why would he be there? Because of you. Because you paid him to be there. He's not mentally well. She's laughing at somebody who's literally not mentally well. He has the brain of like a 15-year-old. So why is it so funny that he's there when you paid for the ticket? You paid for the hotel. You told him what to buy. You told him what to wear. And it's weird. She always laughed at this part. And it's a little unsettling. It really is.
And so we're in the auditorium, and my mom and I are sitting next to each other. Well, he comes sit next to me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My mom decides, hey, this guy's kind of giving me the creeps. So she moves several seats down. I stay put. I'm sitting with him. I'm not moving. She gets pissed that I didn't move with her. So throughout the whole movie, she's sitting there and I'm sitting over there with him. She's mad at me at this point. Like, I know I'm in trouble at this point.
Yes.
And he and I had previously discussed that we were going to have sex in the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, to the men's bathroom, go to the handicap stall. He follows me in. We attempt to have sex. Doesn't work out.
Okay.
And I go back, sit next to my mom. She proceeds to take me to the bathroom on the opposite side, slaps me across the face, and says, "You were gone too long. What were you doing?" So I was like, nothing. Of course I'm going to say nothing.
Right.
So the movie ends. We leave. He takes a cab back to his hotel. And we have a huge argument at the house.
You and your mother.
Me and my mom.
Okay.
About how she got the creeps from this guy. Like, why I didn't go sit with her. Like, the smallest little things would just kind of set her off. So I'm like, I'm sorry. I was just trying to make a new friend. I was doing my best to kind of like bridge that connection. Because I really wanted both of them in my life.
They have conflicting stories about what happened at the movie theater too. Because she sometimes makes it seem as though her mom wouldn't let her walk away and she had to excuse herself to the bathroom. When Nick tells the story like they was on a date. Nick makes it seem as though he and Gypsy were on a date. And I noticed another lot. She said after her and Nick did what they did in the bathroom, that the mom came out just in time to see them at the stand getting popcorn.
My mother started to worry. So she came out of the auditorium, and just in the nick of time, we were by concessions.
And now she's done added this story, that her mom took her into the women's room and slapped her. So which is true? Did she meet you at the popcorn stand? Or did you come back and sit down and then she took you out and beat you? And then also, what she doesn't say here, she leaves out the part that her mom locked her in the shed for a night. And she dreamed about living with Rod and Christy, as she said in her book. That shed has a window. She could have just climbed out the window. She could have been, if she was truly in trouble, she could have banged on her door and called for help. There were neighbors literally, I'm sure they would have heard. She just keeps spinning these stories that don't make any sense. She says one thing in one documentary and then something else in another. And it never makes sense. The truth should be consistent. It should be told the same way every time. But yeah, this is how she's telling the movie theater story.
Your relationship with your mother, does it continue to deteriorate?
Continues to deteriorate. And we had previously, knocked around the idea of murder.
You did.
And it was all stemming from a conversation where he's like, it was an argument between me and my mom. Stuff got physical. She hit me. I told him she hit me. And he's like, I'm going to protect you from anyone. I said, anyone? He said, anyone. I said, even my mom? And he said, yes, even your mom. Like, I'll take her out too. And never thinking that was actually going to happen. It wasn't a serious thought until after what happened at the movie theater. What is my life going to be like in the next 20 and 30 years? Is it going to be like this right here? The desperate thought of, I want my mom out of the picture. And it's like, I didn't want her dead necessarily. If she would have went to prison, I would have been all the happier. But that, unfortunately, was a conversation he and I had.
Okay.
Gypsy just said she would have been much happier if her mom went to prison. But remember when their next door neighbor said he went to go visit Gypsy and he said this to her.
Why did you not say anything to anybody? All you had to do was stand up one time in public and all this would have been different. And the only thing she could say was, the only reason I didn't say anything is because I didn't want mom to go to jail. To which my response was, well, this is a little bit more permanent than that. And she just kind of hung her head and said, I understand.
You see, Gypsy, this is why it doesn't make any sense. You didn't want your mom to go to prison. There's a block. There's something we're missing. And the piece is that Gypsy knew that she could walk. She kept it from her mom. And now they were just both in this scam together. This is just my opinion. This is just my opinion. I have to make sure I say that. There's a disconnect. There's something she's leaving out. Because if she wanted her mom out of her life so bad, she could have just got up and walked. But what was stopping her? It wasn't because of her mother's love. Because you can love your mother from prison. And you can have your freedom. In fact, it would have been better. Think about it. Your mom's in prison for abuse. And you can still write her and talk to her because you know you like a pen pal. You could have been your mom's pen pal. And you would have, I'm sure your mom would have still loved you. And you would have got to live your life, the life you wanted to live. There's something more. There's a disconnect. There's something we're missing. And I think the piece is Gypsy knew if her mom went to prison, so would she. So would she. And she's never going to admit that. There's just this gray area that she don't talk about it. She won't talk about it. She won't admit to it.
Do you believe they loved you?
I believe my mother loved me to an extent. I think that she didn't know how to show love. Nick, I do not believe he loved me one bit. I believe that I was someone who was in a very specific situation to fill out his fantasies. He often had fantasies that were very disturbing.
For her to say she don't feel Nick actually loved her is wild. It's absolutely crazy because to this day, Nick refuses to say certain things because he still wants to protect Gypsy. What does she have on these men? Because Ryan is the same way. Ryan loves Gypsy with all of his heart. So did Nick. And for her to say, oh, I don't think he actually loved me. That man loved you. He killed for you. Like, what? This man is in jail forever because he didn't love you? He's in jail for the rest of his life because he didn't love you. Just think about that, Gypsy. He loved you. And you used him. Truth is, you didn't love him. You did not love him. You saw him as a pawn to play in your game. You couldn't wait to dispose of him. It's really sad.
June 10th, 2015. If you can take me to that day or even the preceding day and walk me through it step by step, what you were thinking, what was going on for you.
So I knew that that was the day. I had been texting with Nick. He said, you might want to start saying your goodbyes. And so I just remember my mom and I said, we're going to paint our nails, we're going to watch a movie. And I wanted to make it a good night. Like, I wanted to make it a night that I felt like I would remember her for the good. So she cooked dinner, she ate her dinner, I painted her nails, she painted my nails, picked out a movie, and laid down. She took a little longer to fall asleep, and then I fell asleep. Then I woke up shortly, like 5 minutes after she fell asleep. And I texted him that she fell asleep. And I said, the gloves are on the porch. And he's like, okay, I'm taking a cab over. And he didn't knock on the door. He texted me, he's like, I'm here. So I get up out of bed and I walk over, open the door.
Before I say what I need to say, I need to point out this one inconsistency again. She stated that she walked over to the door when in her book, she put emphasis on the fact that she was in her wheelchair. So was she in a wheelchair or did she walk?
First thing he said when he comes to the door is, this bitch is dead. And I told him, like, be quiet, be quiet. And he's like, where's the knife? So I hand him the knife. And he said, get your bleeping ass to the bathroom.
She knew that was the day because she moved it up. She already paid for him to be there. She had already stolen the weapon. And she was happy about this. She was excited. Through her text message, you can see she was excited. Like Ruby was saying it was going to go down tonight. She moved it up. And Nick saying you might want to start saying your goodbyes. Like, No, he didn't say that. She was the one eager. Bring your A game, baby. Life with me is on the line. That was what she was saying. Bring your A game to kill her mom. And to sit there and paint your mother's nails and have a normal day knowing you're going to unalive your mom, that is a whole nother kind of evil.
So I go to the bathroom, I close the door, I lock the door behind me, and I just kind of get into the fetal position and I cover my ears. And that's what happened. And then after it happened, there was a point where I didn't process what happened. He was walking around the house and talking at a normal voice tone. And I was like, shh, you're going to wake her up. Like there was a level of distance from the situation where like she was dead in the other room and I'm still thinking, I'm afraid she's going to wake up, see you in the house and, punish me in some type of way.
Girl, stop lying. You was cleaning up the crime scene naked, and then you guys took it to the bedroom. She was making it seem like she was just so skittish. She had no idea what was going on. In one documentary, she said she was completely high and out of it. Like, what? I feel bad even laughing because, no, absolutely not. That is not what happened. She wasn't so, oh, be quiet. Oh, don't wake her up. She's dead. She's dead, and you covered her with blankets. We know that. She was completely covered with blankets in a Bernie doll placed next to her. You went and robbed her for her cash and medications. You guys got it on, and then you booked it to the hotel to get brownies and whatever else you guys were doing there.
Did you go to see your mother?
No, I did not go in that room. Nick actually, anytime, because her room is like right here, my room was right here, and then there's the hall. And so he would block her room. So anytime I was walking in and out of my room, he would block the area, so I couldn't see.
Okay. The stabbing was so severe that it almost severed her head. Did he talk about the murder at all?
No.
There was no discussion?
No discussion of it. Not after the fact, no.
Okay.
I'm always gonna not believe her when she says Nick didn't talk about the crime or she didn't look in the room or anything, because she wrote that status, I slashed, not I stabbed. She thought Nick stabbed her mom. She wants everybody to believe she only thought he stabbed her a few times and she died. She wrote slash, which means they either talked about it or she saw what Nick did to her mom. She wrote slash. Nick did not write that post. Am I the only one tripping about slash and stab? Because there's a difference. There is a difference. I slash that fat pig is what she wrote about her mom.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that he then assaulted you.
Yes. That specifically was really difficult because prior to having the crime happen, he wanted to assault my mom. That was his fantasy. He wanted to assault my mom. I felt like that was too far. I was like, no, I will not, do it to me instead. And he said, fine, that's the price you have to pay then. If you don't want me to do that to your mom, you're going to have to let me do it to you. And I agreed. So come to that point, keep in mind, I was a virgin. Come to that point, I guess I agreed to something I didn't fully understand.
Okay.
And what's even more horrible is I had to testify in court. And I'm going to be open and honest and say that I had to basically say he didn't rape me. So even though I said stop, I said, no, stop, you're hurting me. But because I previously agreed to it, now I'm confused. What is consensual?
I thought consent is given and removed in a moment's notice.
I thought so too, but apparently not in the court's eyes.
So yes, consent can be removed. However, let's not forget she sent him this video.
You're hurting me, so please stop. But if I don't say the safe word, that means, and I say, oh, no, or whatever, pretend, that's just pretend. That's just part of the fantasy. It doesn't mean that I want you to stop. If I want you to stop, I'll say that safe word.
This was all a part of their sick fantasy. It was a part of their fantasy. She wanted him to do this to her. She's trying to spin the narrative now because it looks better on her end to say, oh, she didn't want this to happen. She was in the bathroom shaving her private parts and legs while her mom was being unalived. They took a bath together.
And then he's like, you know, then I looked down, he says, I just saw blood, you know, there's blood everywhere, all over my hand and stuff, he says. So I went and, you know, told Gypsy, hey, we need to clean up and stuff, so we got in the shower and cleaned up. And
They said that we got in the shower, so both
Yeah.
of them got in the shower?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of Nick's cellmates said that. Why would Gypsy need to take a bath if she had nothing to do with the crime? Like, this was absolutely consensual. It was a part of their little weird, sick fantasy game. I'm never going to believe for 1 second that she felt she was in danger after Nick did what he did to her mom. She was happy.
During this whole time, he's switching back and forth between personalities.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Split.
Yes, I have.
Okay, it was like that, where you can just change just like that. So the person that murdered my mother, his name is Victor, not Nick. Okay? Person who assaulted me is Victor, not Nick. So in my mind, these are two completely different people. I'm not looking at the person that just assaulted me and Nick as being the same person. I'm thinking, okay, one means to hurt me, but also save me. And the other one is just, the Nick that I had been talking to for 2+ years.
I see it.
So I was compartmentalizing at the time.
The fact that she said that right there, she wasn't looking at Nick and Victor as the same person during this time. This makes me think about how Nick looked at Gypsy and Ruby, or Gypsy and Demona. To this day, he swears Gypsy had nothing to do with this stabbing of her mother. But did Demona? Did Ruby? Ruby did say Ruby was very excited about what was going to happen that night. And I don't think Nick understands that Gypsy, Ruby, Demona, Candy, Kitty are all the same person. Gypsy knows how to play this role. She's playing a role, and she knows how to turn it on and off. Nick does not. I'm going to stop right here because there's no need to rehash her getting arrested and how she completely turned on him. If you want the second part, I'm like halfway through, so I'm going to stop right here. But if you want to see me do more of this, let me know in the comments. This video is going to be long. I already know it. And I appreciate you if you sat and you watched and you agree with my opinion. But if you don't, let me know as well. Please leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about this. He didn't really challenge her story anyway at all. She just told the same story she's been telling since she's been in prison. She tweaked it a little bit. She added a few more lies. She added a few more things we may have not heard before, but it just contradicts the original story. And at this point, I don't think we'll ever truly get the truth about Gypsy Rose and what happened. And it's really sad, on the day of her mother's death, this is how she wants to remember her. When I think personally, my personal opinion, just be quiet, let the day go. Just honestly, I don't think she should be on the internet. I don't think she should even have a platform to keep resharing this story, because now all it does is encourage other people who, if you are in an abusive relationship, or you're in a relationship that you perceive as abusive, like, instead of going to the authorities, how do I know there's someone out there not thinking, maybe if I just get rid of my mom, say she abused me, spend a couple years in jail, and come out to be an influencer like Gypsy? That's a real concern. And what do you guys think about this? I could go on forever. That's why I literally have to stop myself. Sorry the video is still long, but again, thank you for watching. Leave a comment down below. This is just what Susie says. I love to hear what you say. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share as well. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.